conservative on everything, right? So he's very much anti-abortion, he's anti-gay marriage, all this stuff, much of the Republican Party, including you, very conservative as well. So that could be a fine fit. What I wonder about is, do you think that he, by skill set, intellect, temperament, and maybe who he surrounds himself with, will be able to handle this job and do a good job as Speaker?
Well, I think he brought something to the table that was what everyone was looking for, and what was missing. Why the last 3 weeks, certainly of my life and of those who were watching, it was very messy. He brought the key ingredient, Ross, and that was trust. People trust him, and the Speaker of the House's job shouldn't be the chief fundraiser. It shouldn't be the chief political strategist in the party. It should be the Speaker of the House, running the institution that our founders feared that the legislative branch of government would be too powerful. Today it is the least powerful branch of government because it doesn't do its job. And I think a lot of that is because because these positions of Speaker and the Senate leader become sort of political quarterbacks instead of someone who's protecting the institution and making sure that we are providing the type of oversight that our founders envisioned that Congress would provide that it hasn't for a very long time. Focused on regular order when it comes to the appropriations bills instead of these massive omnibus bills that are smoke screens to transform our country like the Democrats did with the Inflation Reduction Act and a lot of the big omnibus spending bills that leaders, frankly, from both parties have passed over the last couple of decades that have sunk this country into a $34 trillion national debt and $2 trillion deficit. So that's where Mike Johnson is going to be different. I mean, he is a very principled, grounded conservative who listens, who members, whether they come from the middle or from the right or those in between, they can trust him. And I think that will make him very effective at the job. I mean, that's to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be very good at the job because he's someone that can be trusted and would listen. Also, Ross, I think it's important as a conservative that we have a Speaker of the House who's listening to the grassroots base of our party. And this is where I think Republicans get it so wrong. They go to Washington, they get overtaken by the special interest groups, and they get their heads stuck in the mud, and they don't listen to the grassroots voters who sent us here to begin with. And Mike Johnson is that type of conservative. He's a grassroots conservative. That's how I got to know him in the early 2000s in conservative movement activities, and getting to know him more since I've been in Congress. He is truly a grassroots conservative. He's not one of these talking heads that you see on TV, and someone who spends all of his time thinking about raising money and maintaining power. He's someone who's here for all the right reasons.
And yet raising money is a really important part of that job, to not just not raising money for himself, but raising money for the party, for other candidates, recruiting candidates. And frankly, I was never a Kevin McCarthy fan, although he did a better job than I thought he was going to. But he was an incredible fundraiser. So how do you see that function being handled for the GOP now?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there was no better fundraiser in the Republican Party than Kevin McCarthy, and he traveled to every district in the country, including mine, to raise money. He got to know the donors. The donors liked him. They gave lots of money, and that's really important. But you know what I think is more important than that is just delivering on what we said we were going to do. Mm-hmm. And if we do that, Ross, if we cut wasteful spending and address the debt and deficits. I mean, today, you know this, $2 trillion deficit, $34 trillion national debt. We spend more on the interest of our national debt today than we spend on the entire budget of the Pentagon. I mean, that is shameful. So if we address spending, if we address the border, if we address the issues that are really affecting regular, average, everyday working-class Americans, like high interest rates and what that's doing to first-time home buyers and inflation and the drug epidemic. I mean, in Indiana, I don't know a community or a family that hasn't been impacted by this drug crisis in our country because of the open border policies of this administration. If we focus on those issues, I really believe the voters are going to reward us no matter how much money we raise. Yes, it's important. Fundraising is important. It's important we go out and fund good candidates and fight back against well-funded Democrat campaigns. But if we deliver on our promises, I think that's an even bigger piece of the formula to keep a majority in the House, win a majority in the Senate, and win back the White House in 2024.
All right, give me relatively short answers on the next couple of things. Mike Johnson has publicly opposed aid to Ukraine. I think aid to Ukraine would pass by a wide margin in the House of Representatives if it came up for a vote. Do you think he'll allow it to come up for a vote?
I hope that if he does, it's separate from the Israel aid package. That's what House Republicans are pushing back on. The Senate looks like they're going to send us something that combines the two. I think they're two completely different situations, two different countries, and they should be separated.
Okay, that wasn't exactly an answer to my question. If they are separated, do you think it will come up for a vote in the House, or do you think Johnson will prevent it?
I hope he prevents it. I think we've done quite a bit enough. I don't know what he'll do, but I think at this point the fight is really about separating the two rather than combining them.
If just go with my hypothetical.